Hey review family, keep it high, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, the review guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video, and in this one I'm going to be covering Saint Vitus' new album. It's self-titled. So Saint Vitus, the legendary doom metal band formed in 1979, it took them until 1984 to release their first album, and they're one of the most instrumental bands when it comes to the developments of genres such as doom metal, stoner rock, sludge metal, and they really did tune everything down and make heavy metal such a sludgy, distorted hellscape. They've been signed to some fairly underground metal labels, or at least metal labels that aren't really talked about in the public eye that much, such as Southern Lord, such as Hellhound, and now they find themselves on none other than Season of Mist. This is their 9th studio-length album, and it's comprised of 9 tracks. It amounts to 41 minutes, so it's fairly tight, not too long, not too short. But this album kind of did what I was afraid it was going to do based on the singles that I had heard leading up to this album, and that is fall under the wayside with other bands that have been around for a very long time who come out with just mediocre material, despite the fact that they are trailblazers, that they set the stones for other genres, other bands, other artists that are kind of like ironically now doing the style that they innovated and they created better than them. For the most part, unfortunately, I do think this is a long-winded album, especially from kind of a doom metal and a stoner rock compositional standpoint. The guitar riffs, on first listen, you might think they're very groovy, they're very just head-bopping and very kind of low and chuggy and distorted, but if you've heard enough doom metal albums or even drone albums, it's so apparent that they're doing nothing that isn't, like, done so much in this genre. The low-paced riff on the opening track Remain sounds like, just like I said a minute ago, a Sun track. In fact, it sounds like the distorted guitar riff could literally be straight out of Sun's new album Life Metal, and I'm not saying that Sun isn't necessarily directly inspired by Saint Vitus or not, they may very well be, but I'm just saying Saint Vitus boils it down to the lowest common denominator possible. The drums are not massive in scope whatsoever, and they're super boring in the mix and very uneventful and uninspired, and the vocal performance, unfortunately, dare I say, has to be one of the just most boring vocal performances on a doom metal album that I've heard in a long time, and a lot of doom metal kind of haters will say the vocals are not really that good, but usually doom metal bands, when you go into the underground, can create some nice atmospheres and nice density, but the vocals here just sound like some sort of F-list typo negative cover band, or like some sort of just gothic rock or metal band from the 90s or 2000s. And if I wanted that, I'd listen to Typo Negative. I would listen to, like, Paradise Lost. There's shots of feedback throughout this whole album, but it's not done to an effect that makes me say that is an interesting way to put that into a composition. It's more so a way like you're just putting this in to either pad time or add this dimension that you think is going to do something, but it really doesn't. The guitars are just all over this album, unanimously very chuggy, but very uneventful. They're doing nothing in the compositions that haven't been done before, even on better Saint Vitus albums, and the vocal performance is just through and through, just really uninspired. And tracks like Remains, and the track that directly follows it, A Prelude 2, they pad time too much, especially near the ending parts. Like, A Prelude 2 is a nice gothic melodic type of track. It finds a lot of beauty and embraces minimalism a lot, and it kind of does sound like a Typo Negative track, especially in his vocal, but the guitar near the end just goes on too long. People that are new to the channel are going to immediately write me off as a doom metal hater and say, you don't understand, doom metal is about being long-winded, it's about having long compositions, it's about atmosphere, and it's about minimalism, and it doesn't have to be technical, and it doesn't have to be that dense. But that's the thing about, like, a lot of conventional doom metal listeners is purists are fine, but doom metal is known for atmosphere, it's known for being foggy, it's known for creating this just crushing experience, this full body experience that grips you all into this story that the instrumentals and a lot of times the vocals are simultaneously saying. But I don't think that Saint Vitus nails that doom metal blueprint, and they're one of the ones that created it. A lot of these compositions come off as scant and bare bones and just lifeless. The mix is so mundane. His vocals are mixed to this just dumb effect, and they're not even that present in the mix. It sounds like he's trying his best, and he's doing these like growly vocals that get so annoying on this album, where he'll go from his normal notes to the growled singing notes, where he'll be like... And the instrumentals aren't even mixed to a minimalist type of feel, if that's what you want to like abide by and defend for this album. They're mixed to a super basic effect. I don't feel like it's ringing out. I don't feel like it's atmospheric. I don't feel like it's dense. And a lot of times I'm just waiting for a track to be over. And not only that, they rip off their own instrumentals on this album. The first track, Remains, you know that riff? It's basically repeated on 12 Years in a Tomb. They just tweak it a little bit. They change it a little bit. It's frustrating, man, because this is such an impressive band, but among the league of like these hybrid bands that mix black metal and death metal with doom metal, or just funeral doom metal bands, or atmospheric doom metal bands, or whatever you want to call it, post doom metal, whatever, Saint Vitus is at the lowest of the low on this album, and I am someone that, like, doom metal is one of my favorite heavy metal subgenres. I don't review a lot of it. To be honest, it's still one of my favorite genres, and still a genre that I not only respect, but one that I just love for the atmosphere that it presents, and Saint Vitus doesn't apply that here. The instrumentals are bare bones, the mixing's not that good, the vocals are just so unpresent that it makes me yawn and my eyes glaze over. These are very long-winded compositions. A lot of them reach so long that you just forget where you are in the track listing, and this album hurts, man. It genuinely hurts. I am, like, not going to make friends for this review, much like most of my negative reviews. I don't think Saint Vitus is not a talented band. They're a very talented band. They were one of the originators of multiple massive genres, along with bands like Black Sabbath, and I do enjoy some of their previous material. I'll go ahead and say that. I do think that Saint Vitus has some super solid material in their discography, but it just feels like they churned out a 101 doom metal type of album here, and I don't know. I can't get behind it. Maybe you did. You can comment below if you did. I am 100% up for discussion and hearing other opinions, but that's my opinion. I'm going to be giving this album a 4 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Please stay for the end screen. I'll link some videos that you might be interested in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. It'll help me out a lot. And like this video if you enjoyed it. Smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. And I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morse, the Review Guy. You know who it is. And I'm signing off saying farewell.